Hi, my name is Laura Combs, and I am the Business Development Director for Eagle Solar and Light. Eagle was founded in Birmingham, Alabama, and has offices in Durham, North Carolina, where I'm located, and in Asheville. We install solar throughout much of the southeastern U.S., and our efforts are heavily focused on commercial scale installations. I have a graduate degree in urban and regional planning, and my time at grad school learning about redlining and the siting of hazardous facilities near or next to communities of color gave me context for what I saw in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan: tremendous inequality for and harm to the Black community. First, I'll talk about energy justice, followed by efforts to break down barriers to solar energy access for historically marginalized communities. Before I dive in, William Barber III regrets that he is unable to participate, and I want to give special thanks to Ethan Blumenthal, co-founder of Good Solar, for providing important energy justice content. I also want to thank my mentors. As a white person who has tried hard to learn and understand the experiences of people of color through a lot of reading and visits to the King Center, the Lorraine Motel, the Harriet Tubman Trail, and more, I still have very little understanding. I have worked hard to bring solar to historically marginalized communities, and sometimes I have been that clumsy white person trying to gain trust. With the solar industry being dominated by white people, we must realize that we really know almost nothing about the experiences of people of color, and that they must become a larger part of our workforce, business ownership, and customer base. This presentation is about breaking down barriers and expanding the solar industry. There are many related forms of justice that need to be addressed, including climate justice and environmental justice, and I'm going to focus on energy justice. Energy justice is achieving equity in both the social and economic participation in the energy system, while also remediating social, economic, and health burdens on those historically harmed by the energy system. They're also known as frontline communities. Energy justice explicitly centers the concerns of marginalized communities and aims to make energy more accessible, affordable, and clean, and democratically managed for all communities. Energy and justice begins with redlining, and redlining is my starting point for making the case that we need to break down barriers to affordable, clean energy for historically marginalized communities. Here's a little history. The Homeowner Loan Corporation was established in 1933 to standardize mortgage rates. Between 1936 and 1939, the corporation drew residential security maps for 239 cities nationwide. These maps were colored from best to desirable to declining to hazardous, with race playing a major role. These maps were the birth of redlining. Redlining continued for 32 years until it was formally ended with the Civil Rights Act of 1968, but impacts continue today. You can see from the maps of two North Carolina cities on the right that redlining and poverty go hand in hand. Redlining came with health impacts, including lower life expectancy and increased diabetes and asthma rates. Breathing problems are further exacerbated by the fact that formerly redlined neighborhoods are on average 5 degrees warmer in the summer, and these higher temperatures come with mental health impacts as well. North Carolina has a history of environmental injustice and is considered the birthplace of the national environmental justice movement due to the harmful actions that occurred in Warren County. In 1982, North Carolina decided to dump 40,000 cubic yards of PCB contaminated soil in a poor, majority black farming community in Warren County, North Carolina. Here are some statistics that show the burdens on communities that have been redlined. Black children are 4 times as likely to die from asthma as white children. 1 in 4 Black adults and 1 in 5 Latino adults cannot afford their asthma medications. 1 in 2 Latinos in the U.S. live in counties that frequently violate air quality standards due to the combustion of fossil fuels. Hispanic children are twice as likely to die from asthma as compared to non-Hispanic whites. Hispanics are 60% more likely to visit the hospital due to asthma compared to non-Hispanic whites. African American women have the highest rate of asthma, and more African American women have died from asthma than any other group. Black adults were 3 times as likely to die from asthma-related causes than whites. Redlined communities face energy insecurity, as they are often the lowest earning communities, and the same can be said for many rural communities. Take a look at the graphic on the right that illustrates findings from the September 2020 report from the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. The percentage of respondents facing energy insecurity is stunning. Bottom line, 1/4 of all U.S. households and 2/3 of low-income households have high energy burdens, and the median energy burden for Black households is 43% higher than non-Hispanic white households, and Hispanic households have a 20% higher energy burden. There is, of course, a definition for energy burden. Energy burden equals all annual energy costs compared to a household's annual income, and if the energy costs are 6% or more, a household is energy burdened. How can these financial and health outcomes improve? Solar energy is one part of the solution. There are two primary barriers to solar that we need to break down: access to solar energy itself and exceptionally low workforce diversity. And by the end of this presentation, you will see that workforce diversity and solar access go hand in hand when working to strengthen solar access and the solar industry. Let's start with access to solar energy. This is a beautiful shot of downtown Raleigh from Oak City Baptist Church. The Oak City installation is one of our most exciting installations because of the church community's vision and impact. Oak City was founded by freed people right after the Civil War. The church is critical to the surrounding community, which is an underserved community, and they are planning to become a climate resilience center with the adoption of battery storage. Eagle Solar and Light is working hard to help more nonprofits like this access solar and share the benefits with their communities. While commercial scale installations are a focus of Eagle Solar, it is important to note the disparities in solar deployment in the residential market. As you can see from the journal Nature Sustainability, solar deployment in Black and Hispanic communities lags significantly in comparison to white communities. The Biden administration is working hard to address the disparities through the National Renewable Energy Laboratory and has deployed teams throughout the country to develop strategies for overcoming barriers to solar energy. The Justice 40 initiative, which requires at least 40% of the overall benefits from federal investments in climate and clean energy to go to disadvantaged communities, is another hallmark federal program. While a primary goal for underserved communities is to own solar installations, it's not always possible. Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory's 2020 study shows that combining solar incentives with a leasing program can break down the barriers. Eagle Solar and Light works in North Carolina, where we have the Duke Energy Solar Rebate and the Solar Lease. Eagle, in combination with our capital partner SunWealth, is the first company approved by the Utilities Commission to offer solar leases and the only company with executed leases. Because of the Solar Rebate plus lease combination, we are bringing solar to historically marginalized communities, such as the Lumbee Tribes Regional Development Association. This is another groundbreaking project because the Lumbee RDA will be the first commercial installation associated with a state-recognized Indian tribe in North Carolina. On the residential front, Lawrence Berkeley cites that 42% of available rooftop belongs to low to moderate income families, and that solar leasing and incentives benefit them. With the Justice 40 initiative and other federal funding efforts, bringing solar to these communities will become easier. Solar installations for low to moderate income communities become even more important with rising utility rates. You can see that in North Carolina we have large rate increases coming in Duke Energy Carolina's territory. These types of rate increases are a substantial concern for LMI communities, and solar is a hedge against that. Let's jump over to workforce diversity. The solar industry is overwhelmingly owned and staffed by white people, and I will show you some statistics in a moment. By growing workforce diversity, we will accelerate solar installations in underserved communities. My experience trying to sell solar to underserved communities has shown me that building trust and understanding takes time. I have also learned that these communities are very ready to implement solar, and it would be easier for them to do so if we, as solar installers, better reflect their communities. Now for some workforce statistics presented by E2 and other organizations. In the clean energy workforce, 61% of people are white, 8% of people are Black, which is a 40% underrepresentation, and 16.5% of people are Hispanic. There is a disconnect about solar employment in underrepresented communities that also needs to be addressed. I have attended a number of BIPOC forums. BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, and the job category people focus on is solar installer, which is understandable because installers are the face of solar. They're the superheroes, the hardest workers, and without them there would be no solar. But not everyone is capable of being an effective installer, and we need to help BIPOC communities understand that their young people have many options. As you know, solar companies need to efficiently find employees. HBCUs are leading the way by seeking federal funding to create green workforce innovation programs. Eagle Solar and Light is supporting the efforts of two HBCUs, North Carolina A&T and Tuskegee University in Alabama, and we will partner with local workforce development boards and community colleges as our impact in rural areas grows. I will finish weaving the relationship between workforce diversity and solar access by referencing the human need for similarities. I found this amazing journal article, and the author states, "You try to create a social world where you're comfortable, where you succeed, where you have people you can trust and with whom you can cooperate to meet your goals. To create this, similarity is very useful, and people are attracted to it most of the time." This need for similarity clearly extends to our solar clients. We know that historically marginalized communities make up about 39% of the U.S. population. We know that they are not fully represented in the solar industry, and we know that they want and need solar. Diversifying the solar workforce at all levels, from ownership through sales and operations, benefits everyone. Finally, I have just about the best job in solar. I work for a company that aligns with my values and supports trying to bring solar to everyone. I have become a better human by reaching out, making connections, speaking uncomfortable truths, and forming bonds with amazing people to help create a stronger future. And if you haven't already, I hope you'll join me on the journey. If you have questions, please email or call me, and if you are on the same path, please reach out so that we can share successes and strategies. Thank you for your time today and enjoy the rest of the conference.